how do you see those changes? I mean, do you see it? Have there been improvements, or have
I
they?
mean, look, uh, when I look at the changes over the last 20 years, for example, there's always you
Roller
see
coaster.
these this you see this roller coaster, right? Because the government can never make their mind up.
Mhm.
And let's not forget Brexit in between all of this as well,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because this uh, and I mean, when I first started off, we had the highly skilled migrant program was very popular in the
Yeah.
early 2000s, and back then the government was saying we need highly skilled migrants. Okay, we welcome migrants, and that was the general feeling.
That's
Okay,
right.
so I think the courts, the Home Office officials, the caseworkers that are looking at your cases, they all take a cue from what the messaging is at the top, right? And whilst we've had this anti-immigrant rhetoric throughout this whole period, the government stance is always, you get small messages, and I think initially
Mhm.
back then the messaging was we need highly skilled migrants, and then we've got too many now. And these aren't really highly skilled migrants. These are, they're people coming in and they're abusing the system. And then this whole abusing the system piece comes in, and so they knew they had to make some changes. So in 2012, they didn't really change this, but they changed the highly skilled to a tier one general. So not really much change because they still realized, okay, there's negative public opinion, but we still need these people to come in. And so they changed the rules on family immigration, for example. So they they added the annual salary to 18,600 in 2012. It didn't exist before that, right?
That's right.
So they hit one area, but they didn't hit anything else. And then slowly we had rights of appeal. Those rights of appeal are now at a stage where you can't really appeal much, but back then you could appeal more or less anything.
It's the time that it takes and the money that it costs to do the appeal.
Of course. I mean, look, you can't really appeal much now, and even the appeals that you can do, it does take a year and it is quite expensive. But back then, if you were refused as a skilled worker, for example, if you were refused a tier one general, you could appeal that, and you would generally succeed. Okay, because and case law has involved and everything's involved, and so we had this anti-immigrant rhetoric again. Introduced Brexit.
Sorry, I'm cutting you off, but just a question on the anti-immigrant rhetoric thing.
On the what?
Now,
Sorry?
On the anti-immigration, all the campaign that's going on. Now, this is my opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel that they've got it wrong. They are who they want to target are illegal immigrants that are coming in.
That's right.
But instead, what they are focusing on are skilled worker migrations, people who are actually coming here to work.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that?
You are. I mean, look, when they are pandering to the far right, it is you hear these stories about 10,000 illegal immigrants coming in a day or whatever the number is, and I think it's actually closer to 1,000 people every day. I have a friend that actually works in the Home Office in that particular team who says it is true. Those figures are true. We get about 1,000 people coming in every day, and these people are trained in they know what they want. They'll name the hotel they want to stay at, and they know what to say. And so there is abuse of the system there, and that is where they need to target things, and that they're the headlines as well. When it comes to skilled migration, and you've got the highly skilled people that are coming in, and because you got to remember, every other legal immigrant can't claim benefits.
No, okay? Absolutely.
If you're a skilled worker, you're a tier one entrepreneur, you're a tier one general, you're a student, whichever category you're here under, you can't claim benefits.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So there's studies. There's a lot of studies which show that they actually make a net contribution because they're paying to come here. They're paying for their health. They're high taxpayers, so they're paying through their taxes. They're paying before they even enter. They're paying for their health surcharge and all the rest of it, which has just gone up and up, and it's one of the highest in the world right now. So they're making a net contribution. And so when they attack these legal routes, it doesn't make any sense.
So how do you see this impacting businesses? I mean,
it's had a big impact. I'd say. Look, every time the rules change, as immigration lawyers, like I said, we see it and we see the ups and downs, right? And every time there's a change, we don't panic. We don't say, "Oh my God, this is the end of what are we going to do for work now?" Yeah. Right? Because something else happens. When Brexit happened, we were thinking, what does this mean for for us as immigration lawyers? What does it mean? And in fact, what it's meant is an increase in our work because businesses still want to hire workers from Europe. There's certain industries hospitality industry, construction industry, where they rely heavily on workers from the EU, right? And so what did the government do? They realized this. They realized, hold on a second, where are these industries going to get? And there's a lot of lobbying from these particular industries, right? And so they wonder where are these workers going to come from? So what do? They decrease the skill level required under the skilled worker route from an NQF level 6 to an NQF level 3. So now, and what that generally means is previously you could only sponsor workers if they were on a bachelor level role.
Yeah.
But post-Brexit, when they introduced these changes, what do? They made applying for a license easier. They got rid of the resident labor market test, which was basically before you hire somebody, you had to prove if a company wanted to hire somebody from overseas, you had to prove that you tried to recruit someone locally. And that was quite specific in the way that they did it. You have to advertise on Job Center. You had to advertise in a national newspaper or an industry-specific magazine or website. And you had to run that ad for 28 days at least and show the Home Office that, look, we tried, we couldn't find anybody. This was the most skilled person that we had, and that's why we want to hire them. They changed that because they said, okay, look, we need people to come from Europe. We need to make it easier for businesses. So what are we going to do? We're going to introduce things like bricklayers and hotel managers and restaurant chefs and all of these kind of lower level positions. You can hire under these roles, and you don't have to advertise. You just have to have a license. We'll give you these licenses. And you go ahead and sponsor people. There'll be reduced salaries, and they reduce the salary rate. Okay, so they did all of this because there was a need. Okay, and what we've seen since then is a huge increase in the sponsor license applications, right? Because where we had 8,000 employers on the register, we now have over 100,000.